In the heart of Chicago's bustling downtown, where skyscrapers cast long shadows over cracked sidewalks, Lila huddled against a brick wall, her thin coat no match for the biting December wind. At 16, her face still held a trace of childhood softness, but her eyes carried a weight far older. A cardboard sign rested beside her, scrawled with shaky letters, asterisk anything helps. Please, asterisk in her trembling hands, she clutched a tarnished silver necklace, its delicate chain tangled around a small, heart-shaped pendant etched with a faint rose. It was her only treasure, a keepsake from a mother she barely remembered, and now, her last hope to quiet the gnawing hunger in her stomach. The street pulsed with life, businessmen in sharp suits, tourists snapping photos, street vendors hawking hot pretzels. Lila's gaze darted from face to face, searching for a flicker of kindness. Most passed without a glance, their eyes sliding over her like she was part of the pavement. She'd been out here for hours, and the few coins in her chipped mug wouldn't buy more than a stale loaf. Her stomach growled, a sharp reminder of the empty days piling up. She looked down at the necklace, her thumb tracing the rose's worn edges. Just one meal, she thought. Then I'll figure out tomorrow. Across the street, a pawnshop's neon sign buzzed, its window cluttered with guitars, watches, and dreams traded for cash. Lila's heart sank as she stood, her legs wobbly from hunger. She crossed the street, dodging a taxi, and pushed open the shop's door. The bell jingled, and a gruff man behind the counter barely looked up from his phone. What you got? He muttered, scratching his beard. Lila hesitated, then placed the necklace on the counter. This, she said softly. It's real silver. My mom gave it to me before her voice trailed off. She didn't want to say the rest, how her mother had vanished into addiction, leaving Lila to fend for herself at 12. The pawnbroker squinted at the necklace, turning it over with a pin like it might bite. Old. Not much shine left. I'll give you $20. 20. Lila's voice cracked. It's worth more than that. Please, I just need enough for some food. He shrugged, already scrolling his phone again. Take it or leave it, kid. Tears stung her eyes, but she nodded. $20 could buy a hot meal, maybe a night in a shelter if she stretched it. She pushed the necklace closer to him, her fingers lingering on the pendant. Okay, she whispered. Outside, the city roared on, indifferent. Lila clutched the crumpled bills, her chest tight with loss. The necklace was gone, and with it, the last piece of her mother. She shuffled toward a diner down the block, its glowing sign promising warmth. But as she passed a sleek black SUV parked at the curb, a man's voice stopped her cold. That necklace, he said, stepping out of the vehicle. Where did you get it? Lila froze. The man was tall, maybe in his 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a tailored coat that screamed money. His eyes, sharp and searching, locked on her with an intensity that made her shrink back. Behind him, a driver stood by the SUV, and a woman in a crisp blazer hovered nearby, holding a tablet. I just sold it, Lila stammered, pointing toward the pawn shop. It was mine. My mom gave it to me. The man's face paled. He took a step closer, his voice low but urgent. That necklace. It has a rose on it, doesn't it? A heart with a rose? Lila nodded, her pulse racing. How do you know that? He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the woman with the tablet. Get it back. Now. She hurried into the pawn shop without a word. The man's gaze returned to Lila, softer now, almost pleading. What's your name? Lila, she said, barely above a whisper. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was standing on the edge of something vast, something that could swallow her whole. I'm Daniel Harper, he said, his voice steady but laced with something raw. That necklace, it belonged to my daughter. Lila's breath caught. She didn't know what to say, didn't know if she should run or stay. Before she could decide, the woman returned, holding the necklace gingerly, like it was made of glass. She handed it to Daniel, who cradled it in his palm, his eyes glistening. This was hers, he said, almost to himself. My Emily. She was about your age when she disappeared. Lila's mind spun. Disappeared? She wanted to ask questions, but the grief in his voice pinned her in place. She noticed the way his hands shook slightly, the way the woman with the tablet watched him with quiet concern. Daniel looked up, his eyes meeting Lila's. Tell me about your mother. Please. Lila swallowed hard. She didn't talk about her mom, not with anyone. But something in his gaze, a shared kind of brokenness, made her speak. Her name was Sarah. She gave me the necklace when I was little, said it was special. She wasn't around much after that. She had problems. Drugs. I don't know where she got it. Daniel listened, his face unreadable. When she finished, he asked, Do you have a picture of her? Your mother. Lila shook her head. No. Just memories. And that. She nodded at the necklace. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Emily ran away when she was 15. 10 years ago. We looked everywhere, police, private investigators, every lead. Nothing. But this necklace. I gave it to her for her 13th birthday. I had it custom made. There's no other like it. Lila's stomach twisted. You think my mom stole it? I don't know, Daniel said, his voice gentle. But I need to find out. And you, he paused, studying her. You're starving, aren't you? Her cheeks burned, but she didn't deny it. He gestured toward the diner. Come with me. Let's get you something to eat, and we'll talk. Lila hesitated. She learned to distrust kindness. It usually came with strings. But the hunger clawing at her insides and the strange pull of this man's story made her nod. Inside the diner, the warmth enveloped her like a blanket. Daniel ordered her a burger, fries, and a milkshake, and she devoured them while he watched, his expression a mix of sorrow and curiosity. As she ate, he talked. He was the CEO of HarperTech, a company that built software for hospitals, but his wealth hadn't spared him pain. Emily, his only child, had struggled with depression, rebelled, and vanished after an argument. The necklace was his last link to her. Lila listened, her heart aching for this man who had everything but the one thing that mattered. When she finished eating, Daniel leaned forward. Lila, I don't know how your mother got this necklace, but I want to help you. Not just because of Emily, but because no one should be out there alone like you are. She bristled, pride flaring. I've been fine on my own. I know you're strong, he said. But you don't have to be alone. Let me get you a place to stay, some food, a chance to figure things out. In return, maybe you can help me piece together where this necklace came from. Lila wanted to say no, to walk away and keep her independence. But the warmth of the diner, the weight of the meal in her stomach, and the faint hope in Daniel's eyes softened her resolve. She nodded. Over the next weeks, Daniel kept his word. He arranged a small apartment for Lila, enrolled her in school, and hired a private investigator to trace the necklace's path. Lila shared what little she knew about her mother's life, the shelters, the halfway houses, the vague stories of a friend who'd given her the necklace years ago. The investigator dug deeper, uncovering a trail that led to a women's shelter where Sarah had stayed a decade earlier, around the time Emily vanished. One evening, as snow blanketed Chicago, Daniel called Lila to his office. The investigator was there, holding a file. We found something, Daniel said, his voice tight. Your mother, Sarah, was at a shelter in 2015. So was a girl matching Emily's description. They were friends, Lila. The shelter's records show they left together. Lila's heart pounded. What does that mean? It means, the investigator said, that Sarah might have known what happened to Emily. The necklace could have been a gift, not stolen. But we don't know where they went after. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. I need to know, Lila. If Emily's out there, or if she's not, I need closure. Lila felt the weight of his grief, but also her own. She'd lost her mother to a different kind of disappearance. I'll help, she said. Whatever it takes. Months passed, and the search continued. Lila thrived in her new life, school, friends, a sense of safety she'd never known. But the mystery of the necklace lingered, a thread connecting her to Daniel, to Emily, to a past neither could fully grasp. Then, one spring morning, the investigator called with a lead, a woman in a small Illinois town, running a community center, who matched Sarah's description. Lila and Daniel drove out together, the necklace in Daniel's pocket. The community center was a modest building, filled with laughter and the smell of fresh coffee. A woman with tired eyes and a warm smile greeted them. Lila's breath caught. It was her mother. Sarah's face crumpled when she saw Lila. My girl, she whispered, pulling her into a hug. Lila stiffened, torn between anger and relief. Daniel stood back, clutching the necklace, his eyes searching Sarah's face. Sarah, he said, holding up the pendant. Where did you get this? Sarah's gaze flickered with recognition, then pain. She sat them down, her hands trembling. I knew Emily, she said. We met at the shelter. She was scared, lost. We looked out for each other. She gave me that necklace before she left. Left where? Daniel's voice was raw. Sarah looked down. She didn't tell me. She said she had to start over, somewhere new. I tried to keep in touch, but she disappeared. I kept the necklace for Lila, to remind her there's still good in the world. Daniel's shoulders sagged, the hope he'd clung to fraying. But Lila reached for his hand, her own eyes wet. We'll keep looking, she said. For Emily. For answers. Sarah joined them, sharing every detail she could remember. The search for Emily continued, but something else grew stronger, a bond between Lila, Daniel, and Sarah. They became a makeshift family, built not on blood but on shared loss and stubborn hope. Lila wore the necklace again, its rose gleaming anew, a symbol of second chances. Years later, Lila stood at a podium, graduating college with a degree in social work. Daniel and Sarah sat in the front row, beaming. The necklace hung around her neck, a reminder of the day a desperate act of selling it had led to a life rebuilt. They never found Emily, but they found each other, proving that even in a cold, indifferent world, kindness could spark miracles. And somewhere, Lila believed, Emily's spirit smiled, knowing her necklace had brought them together.